silent battle of the avoidant, what their withdrawal really means. Let's talk about something few people understand, what silence really means in the mind of an avoidant partner. You see, when someone you care about suddenly pulls back, disappears, or goes emotionally flat, it feels like abandonment. It feels like rejection. You start second-guessing everything. Did I say too much? Did I come on too strong? Was I not enough? But here's the truth most people never tell you. Silence in avoidant attachment isn't absence of feeling. It's evidence of emotional overload. An avoidant's nervous system isn't wired for closeness the way yours might be. Where you see connection as comfort, they experience it as chaos. Their withdrawal isn't apathy, it's an emotional lockdown. Not because they don't care, but because they care so deeply, their system short-circuits under the weight of intimacy. Avoidants didn't wake up one day and decide to fear closeness. Their behavior is rooted in childhood patterns, often emotional neglect, unreliable caregivers, or environments where expressing feelings was unsafe. So they built walls. Not because they didn't want love, but because needing love hurt too much. Fast forward to adulthood, and now every moment of genuine connection triggers old alarms. When you cry in front of them, they freeze. Not because they don't feel, but because they were never taught what to do with those feelings. When you reach out emotionally, they don't ghost you to punish you. They disappear to stabilize themselves. Emotional intimacy activates their deepest fear, losing control. And control is their safety blanket. Now let's go deeper. Imagine someone who's lived in survival mode for most of their life. That's the avoidant. They've learned to depend only on themselves, so when they start catching real feelings, it doesn't bring joy, it brings panic. Their identity built on autonomy feels threatened. Suddenly your presence, your love, your availability, it all becomes overwhelming. So they retreat. They use silence not as a weapon against you, but as a shield for themselves. It's not about you. It's about regulation. It's about surviving a tidal wave of emotion they never learned to swim through. But here's where it gets even more complex. The avoidant may vanish, yes, but they never really let go. They check your stories at 2 a.m., like your posts without commenting, send you vague messages out of nowhere. It seems random to you, but it's strategic for them. This is what emotional breadcrumbing looks like when it's driven not by manipulation, but by fear. They're not reaching out to reconnect. They're reaching out because they can't fully detach. It's the push-pull cycle in action. Connection is terrifying, but your absence is worse. So they hover. They orbit your life from a distance. They want to feel your presence without risking emotional intimacy. It's a tragic irony. They want closeness, but their instincts demand distance. And then comes the part people rarely talk about. The silent reverence they feel when you express real, raw emotion. If you've ever cried in front of an avoidant, you probably remember the uncomfortable silence, the blank stare, the quick exit, and you likely internalize that as shame. I shouldn't have been so emotional. But let me tell you something. That reaction, that freeze, that shutdown, that wasn't disgust. It was awe mixed with terror. You stepped into sacred ground, showing them a kind of vulnerability they've spent their entire life avoiding. You became a living example of what emotional safety looks like, and that's terrifying for someone who's never had it. In fact, if they didn't care, they wouldn't react at all. Their silence is not the absence of emotion, it's the presence of fear. Your tears didn't scare them away. They shook something awake. And now they have to decide, do they confront that discomfort or run from it again? That decision is not your responsibility, but knowing this helps you reframe their reaction. You're not too much. You're not overreacting. You're not weak. You're just real. And that kind of authenticity, it's rare, and it echoes. Now let's talk about the turning point. The moment everything changes, not for them, but for you. It happens the moment you stop chasing, when you stop orbiting their silence and start investing in your own life. When you grow not out of spite, but out of self-respect. That's when the avoidant feels the shift. You're no longer playing the role they expected. The anxious one, the chaser, the emotional caretaker. You've stopped knocking on the door. You've walked into a new room. And that terrifies them more than your closeness ever did. Avoidants don't fear being alone. They fear becoming irrelevant. So when you detach without drama, when your silence comes from peace rather than pain, when you start rising without asking for permission, that's when they feel it. Not because you punish them, but because you outgrew the emotional script they were used to. And suddenly they're left with the question, how did she heal what I'm still running from? Here's what's crucial to remember. Your healing doesn't just free you, it forces them to confront their own avoidance. Whether they choose to grow is their journey, not yours. But your transformation becomes undeniable. They feel it in the way you no longer ask for closure, in the calm in your tone, in the energy you've reclaimed. You're no longer trying to be understood. You're simply being. And that silent confidence, it says more than any declaration ever could. Let's bring this full circle. The avoidant doesn't forget you. They don't lose your memory like sand slipping through fingers. They file everything. The way you laughed, the way you supported them, the way you broke down that one night and trusted them enough to cry. Their mind is an emotional archive, even if their mouth pretends it's empty. They may act forgetful, indifferent, like they've moved on. But in moments of silence, your presence returns. In the quiet, they remember, not just the moments, but the meaning. So what do you do with all of this? You let it inform your understanding, not your self-worth. You hold boundaries without bitterness. You stay soft without shrinking. You keep your heart open, but guarded. You understand the psychology, not to fix them, but to free yourself. When they go silent, you don't chase the noise. You sit in your own stillness and let them come to terms with the echo they left behind. Because here's the secret, silence for an avoidant isn't an ending, it's a storm, a battle between what they feel and what they fear. Your presence isn't forgotten, it's encrypted into the architecture of their inner world. And as they wrestle with the tension between love and loss, what remains unforgettable is how you held your ground. Calm, clear, whole. So if you've made it this far, let this be your reminder. You are not too much for the right person, and your feelings are not the problem. When someone goes silent, especially an avoidant, don't rush to fill the gap with self-doubt. Fill it with self-worth. Their silence is not proof of your failure. It's a reflection of their emotional battlefield. And while you can't fight their internal war, you can choose peace over performance. You can choose boundaries over begging. Because healing doesn't mean they come back. Healing means you come back to yourself. Let them feel the weight of your absence. Not because you're playing games, but because you've remembered your value. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing at all. Just rise quietly, gracefully, without making noise. And let your growth speak volumes. If this video helped you understand your own journey or someone else's silence a little better, give it a like, share it with someone who needs it, and don't forget to subscribe for more real talk on attachment, emotional healing, and conscious love. Until next time, stay grounded, stay whole, and remember, your heart is not too heavy. It just needs the right hands to hold it.